Ayo, what's poppin' YouTube? This is Grayson, a sample maker or a beat maker. Today I'm gonna break down one of my latest samples, so let's just get into it. So before the breakdown, let's preview this sample. Yeah, that's it. So I started off with this Nord Pure contact bank. So as you can see, I chose this emotional preset. So it sounds like this without the effects. This MIDI pattern maybe looks a little bit complicated because I use a lot of inverts, but all of them are very simple chords. You can tell that I used some of notes that are not in the scale because I contend that it can give me my piano jazzy or R&B vibe. Recommend you guys can practice to do this because in this way your MIDI pattern will not be restricted by the ghost notes of the scale. For the effects, I use the EQ and magic switch make your piano more soulful, and also portal with this green swells preset and turn down the mix to give your sound a texture, and the vintage verb retro color with this wow and flutter and also fruity chorus to add extra texture. With these effects it sounds like this. And after that, I added these fruity flanges to bring more texture and make it more vintage. And also I added this J37 with this filtered wave preset. And I also come up with this automation clip. You can tell that I learned this from Splitman. Yeah, shout out to Splitman, a bunch of talented producers. And then I added this LFO toe to make this sound has a sense of breathing. I also learned this from Perk. Shout out to him, a very talented sample maker. Well, after all of them, it sounds like this. Super vintage and has a bunch of texture, and you can tell you just turned a soulful piano to a vintage synth, and it's very amazing. Well, I also copied this audio clip, then make unique, pitch it up an octave and reverse it. Also I chop it up to make it fill the gap between the chords. Also, I changed at the second part to bring more variation. And then I added this sound. I came up with this sound just by using this Portal Green Swells preset and make it 100% white, so you just have that sound. After that, I just kept the first and the third chord. Then I added this little ambience. It sounds like this. After that, I added this sound. This sound comes from Adiba's latest kit. shallow to Adiba. For this sound, I added EQ, vintage verb, Valhalla delay, and Vider. And then I also added this Perk Loop. This Perk Loop is also comes from Adiba's kit. Well, I added this halftime to make it sound more dark and vintage. This really gives me a black vibe, you know. Well, I also added this sound by just copying and pasting the same chord. And this sound is from Midi Flux Saxophone preset. Well, I added a lot of plugins, as you can see. EQ, effect rack, and also effect rack with smooth, square, tremolo preset, and retro color with magnitude transition 1 preset, and also Valhalla delay, good hertz reverb, echo boy with default preset, and also EQ. So this time it sounds like this. And then I bounce it out and reverse it. Remember that it's always about the texture. And after that, I added this ambience. Just sounds like a raining street. Then I found this guitar riff from the splice. It sounds like this. I added this GTR toe rack with this wah-wah to make it sound more vintage, and EQ, vinyl, and vintage verb, retro color with this lush and branch guitar 2 Valhalla delay, and I'm making mono. Now it sounds like this. Super vintage. For the next sound, I added this bass from the Contact Library, Jazz Upright. As you can see, I added a lot of small notes to give this bass pattern a specific rhythm, and at the end of this pattern, I added some small notes to make a transition and also to add some variation. I added this EQ to cut the high and the thermal, and also LFO toe, and turn down the mix, and retro color bass wonder preset, and also turn down the mix. So it sounds like this. So let's preview this sample again to make sure y'all guys know where we are now. And then I added a pad sound. I already replaced it with MIDI out, but I'm pretty sure that this one comes from Loophole's Analog Live Bank. And I even didn't add anything. Also to fill the gap between the chords. Then I added 2 vocal chops from Splice. They sound like this without the effects. For this sound, I used Little Other Boy and EQ. Yeah, both of them. And with the effects, they sound like this. And then I got a guitar sound by using this Contact Library. And then I added guitar rig but turned down the mix, and also Portal, Echo Toys preset, and Vintage Verb, also turned down the mix, and I'm making mono. It sounds like this now. After that, I bounce it out and pitch it down nearly an octave, and then I added another guitar rig, also turned down the mix, so it sounds like this now. Well, as you can see, I also did some chop to make it more bouncy. Then I got this sound. Well, I'm pretty sure it also comes from Analog Lab Bank from Loophole. So it sounds like this. And I also found this saxophone loop from Splice, and it sounds like this without the effects. So I added a shaper box to make it have some variation on the pen, and also EQ, vintage verb, and also this Devil Lock Deluxe with this preset to make it sound more concert vibe. I mean, just to make it sound like it was playing in a big concert, in a band, something like that. After I rearranged this loop, I bounced it out to get this loop, and then I also chopped it with these chopping beats, and then I switched this to the generic and play with the length of this, so it become this. And then I also added some effects, basic EQ and retro color, flux, tremolo, and wider. Well, after all these sounds were finished, I just route them to a bus except the guitar, saxophone, and the ambience texture to this bus with this LFO toe to give it a sidechain effect. And I also add this sound shifter pitch to pitch up 3 semitones, so it sounds like this now. Yeah, that's it. I'm very glad to break down this sample in my first YouTube video. Big shout out to Pro by Tai for encouraging me a lot and teaching me a lot. Make sure you guys to check out his content. Very fire and very useful. I believe that he will inspire you so much. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And I will keep on making better melodies samples. So see you next time. Peace out.